What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Have a bunch of stuff to get into today. Some big news out of Belgium where they took some big shots at loot boxes, making them illegal completely, and they have some pretty serious consequences for those that don't take those things out of their game, and they seem to be aiming directly at EA for some of this. We're going to go over that. But first, of course, I know what everyone's talking about right now when this video goes up. Unfortunately, the Nintendo earnings came out overnight for me. They would have been at like 3 a.m. So I will be going over them later on today. I'm going to put a guess out there, just a guess for the number of systems that they sold. I'm going to say just under 17 million. So I'm going to give them 16.8 million is where I'm going to put it. I'm probably off because it's a pretty hard number to guess, obviously. I'm going to go with 16.8 million. That sounds right. Hey, maybe they'll get into the 17s. That'd be pretty cool to see. We'll go over all of their financial information, though, later on today. And then we'll, of course, also go over any of the investors' briefing that they have with all of the questions and everything that they have to answer later on as well. Today, guys, we have some cool stuff. Like I said, we got Media Creates charts. We have to talk about Belgium and some other things as well. So let's get started. So the Belgian Gaming Commission has now found a few games right now. I'm wondering if they're investigating other games as we go along, but for now, they have specifically named 3 games that are in violation of their gambling laws, their gaming commission, and that would be FIFA 18, which, of course, FIFA 18 is pretty serious with loot boxes, Overwatch, and then Counter-Strike. Those 3 specifically have been named. I was wondering if they would kind of go a little further and investigate games as needed, but for now, they have named those 3 games. And if any of these games remain in violation of the gambling regulations in the country, they're going to have some consequences for them that they will face. These punishments include up to 5 years in prison and up to 800,000 euros. And because this involves minors at this extent, which of course tons of people buy these games, so tons of minors are exposed to what they call as just gambling, the punishments could be doubled, which it's kind of a big deal then, because then they would be throwing around 10 years imprisonment and then 1.6 million euros at that point, which probably isn't a lot to them, I guess, but still, you don't want to be in violation of this kind of stuff and have fines slapped all over you. Now, they did say that as a government, they want to ensure that children and adults are not confronted with games of chance when they are looking for fun in a video game. So now, here we are with Belgium making a big push to get rid of loot boxes. And the funny thing about this, I guess, as a lot of people have pointed out, oh, why Battlefront 2 wasn't named? Yeah, it's because they took the loot boxes out. If they had left them in, that would have definitely been named because they named FIFA. UFC, I thought, has loot boxes as well, but they specifically named FIFA. I think they had to name a couple to get started. More than likely, what I think is going to be happening is they'll continue to name games as they investigate them, because they, of course, have to look into different games to see if they are in violation of these gambling regulations that they have set out for loot boxes. Basically, they don't want any games of chance, any loot boxes for gamers in Belgium. And that's, I guess, what they decided at this point. I don't know who else or what other countries will be doing this. That's where it gets interesting, because we know parts of the U.S. have been pushing for it, right? That was a big thing. We know Australia was looking into it, and then other parts of the world also looking into this. But it's getting to the point where the government is so involved. Is it really worth putting loot boxes into your games anymore? I mean, you could spend all of this time, make your game revolve around these things, and then all of a sudden, it's now illegal in different parts of the world. Seems like more of a pain than necessary when you can add in your microtransactions that are straight up purchases, or you can probably figure out some other way to get money out of people, because trust me, they're working on it in the background as we speak. Now, they're definitely going to be, I assume, either removing loot boxes, or they're just going to remove their games from Belgium. I would like to think they're just going to remove loot boxes, but hey, maybe EA is like, well, it's Belgium, not a big loss. We're not going to change our game for this one place. So I could see EA kind of doing that, right? Just not having that game shipped there anymore or sold over the internet there, maybe IP block it or something. But this is very fascinating to watch unfold. Next up, I want to share one thing with you guys real quick. The Octopath Traveler box art was released online yesterday, and oh man, this box art looks outstanding. This game, I'm absolutely buying it. I'm shooting for that special edition. Hopefully they don't run out of stock, or they're able to fill my order, as I was able to find it on Amazon, and I put the order in, and I've had special editions canceled before on Amazon, so I was thinking about also going by a GameStop and maybe just putting a pre-order in for it just to get it if I can. But man, this box art you're seeing here looks absolutely phenomenal. Tell me that does not get you in the mood for some old school RPG action. Now, of course, it should technically remind you a bit of Bravely Default if you played those games, that kind of artwork, since the producer from that game is also working on Octopath Traveler. It also gave me some vibes from like older Final Fantasy artwork, like Final Fantasy Tactics for some reason popped into my mind when I saw this, but I love the way it looks. That box art seems to be going everywhere. It was also confirmed for the Western audience as well as the Japanese audience and European audiences. So I am so excited for this game. The only issue is it's not coming out till mid-July, and that feels like it's an eternity away. It's so worth getting this game physically, and remember one other thing, the box art is also missing that white banner, so it looks like we're getting everything on the cartridge, which is great. Next up, Sonic Mania Plus finally got its release date. It's going to be coming out July 17th, so actually right around when Octopath Traveler is coming out. Now we're moving from that to this. But of course, a lot of people saw that it's kind of the expansion, the DLC, but it's also getting a physical edition of basically an all-in-one pack of Sonic Mania, and then the Plus edition as well. And we also had Aaron Weber take to Twitter and answer a bunch of questions, which include, they didn't announce any new levels, but you'll get to play a bit of Angel Item. The physical edition is $29.99. DLC is $4.99 if you already own Mania. And your save data should still work if you own digital. Then buy physical, because a lot of people were curious about that too. Will it cross over for, like, I guess a Switch cartridge? I mean, I assume it would, as it's starting up in the same profile and everything, but it's still a question I saw a lot of people ask. So there you go. If you're looking forward to the Sonic Mania Plus edition that's coming out because you want it physically, just know it's coming out midway through summer, July 17th. Next up, let's talk about Media Create sales charts from Japan. Now, these, of course, are the physical charts that generally track retail store over-the-counter purchases. I believe Famitsu does track some digital, but not all of it. It's hard to track all digital, so I get that, but the Media Create specifically deals with physical most of the time, and we saw some pretty big debuts. God of War is on this chart, and the Labo kits. That's right, Labo is on this chart as well. You might be a little surprised where some of them place, but we're going to take a look at the charts, and I'm going to explain some of it to you, because some people were kind of jumping to some conclusions with God of War on the Japanese sales charts, but we have to take a look at the history of God of War in Media Create as well before we make any, I guess, quick judgments here. So here's the top 10 for Media Create, starting with, yes, that's right, the Labo, the Nintendo Labo Variety Kit at number 1, 90,410. That's big there, obviously, for Nintendo to have that at the first spot. They didn't sell this digitally, though, so all sales had to have gone physical for that. God of War is number 2 with 46,091. So there you go. At least some people were asking Nintendo versus or Labo versus God of War. Well, for now, Labo ended up taking Japan, but that's something I kind of expected, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The Labo Toy-Con 2, the robot kit, 28,629. Kirby Star Allies number 4, Splatoon 2, then the Snack World, Metal Max Xeno, which is also coming here west as well later on this year. Pretty cool. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Metal Max Xeno on the Vita. There's a Vita game right there for you guys in the top 10. Pretty cool to see. And then Breath of the Wild rounds out the top 10. Moving over to systems, the Switch dropped a little bit, about 2,000 units down to 34,165. The PS4 was at 13,447, so that actually went up a bit, with 2,500 or so units up, which is good, but still, God of War came out that week. It's a little weird that the PS4 didn't jump any further. I'm starting to think that the PS4, like I said before, is kind of tailing off a bit in Japan. If God of War can't push systems that well, even though, it sold almost 50,000, obviously. So there you'd think the PS4 would have at least got back to 20,000, but not the case here. The 3DS, 7,472, it also dropped about 1,000. The Vita stayed pretty much within margin of error at 2,800 units. And then the Xbox One had a massive jump to 116, up from 72. So let's talk some God of War numbers real quick. Let's talk about God of War Ascension. That was on the Media Create sales charts back in March 11th to 17th of 2013. It did 19,744. 4. So much less than the God of War that you're seeing here. And let's go all the way back. Let's also go back to God of War 3, okay? Let's take a look at that. That was 43,181 back in 2010. So really looking at God of War here at 46,091, believe it or not, that's one of the best debuts I think it's ever seen in Japan. And God of War is not a big seller in Japan. I mentioned God of War 3 just then. God of War 3 went on to sell over 5 million units. A very small percentage of that was in Japan. God of War just never really been big in Japan ever, I don't think. I don't think it's ever been big there. So these are expected. I would look to it doing big numbers in the MPDs. It will top the MPD charts. I think most people expect that. Labo will be fascinating, by the way, to see where that is in the MPD charts for April. So don't expect big numbers in Japan out of God of War, but look to Europe, right? Look to the UK, look to UK sales charts, everything as well. Look to the US, and then other parts of the world, but not Japan for those. Labo, though, at number 1, that's actually a pretty big deal. I mean, think about it. Labo is not your traditional way to play a video game. You are technically building things out of cardboard, and it's a very clever idea when you start using it. A lot of people criticize it, but most of those people have never used it. There is some really cool stuff going on there mechanically from an engineering standpoint. The people who built that stuff, like the Labo, it's very impressive. Seriously, people who built that have some talent. But big opening there for Labo. If you add the two together, over 100,000 units. God of War, that's the biggest opening it's had in Japan, like I said, for quite a while. So really the only thing that concerns me and is a little weird is the PS4 sales number still being below 20,000. It's a little odd, but I'm not really sure what else is going to help it out going forward. I mean, if God of War can't even pass along another 10,000 units, I'm not really sure what else is going to push it up until Kingdom Hearts. That would be the one that I would expect to help sell PS4s in Japan. But that could be the end of the year, so I don't know the rest of this year what's going to help it. And our last bit of news, let's talk about some sad things that have happened here. Remember that Halo 3 fan modification, the fan mod that I talked about a few news waves ago, where it was the El Dorito, and it looked pretty cool because they took the Halo Online that was released in Russia, repurposed it, molded it, and made it work here pretty much everywhere. You could pretty much play it from anywhere rather than just have to be in Russia with the IP block that was on that pretty much blocked the rest of the world. They repurposed it. It worked great, and everyone could jump on and play together. It was basically Halo 3 on the PC, and it worked awesome. Seriously, it played great. Here's the problem, though. Microsoft and 343 decided that it could not stay up. They had to. This is different because other things like Installation 01 are going on, but Microsoft doesn't mind. However, strangely, this one they mind. Now, it could be because they used the Halo Online, I assume, that engine and moved it over and repurposed it and stuff. That's probably an issue with them. However, they weren't like super mean about it, I guess. In fact, it sounds like they want to work with the team who was developing this. And then they mention that they hear fans about a PC version of Halo. And this was in kind of their letter to the community saying, as Microsoft's need to protect its IP spun up, we reached out to members of the El Dorito team to have an open discussion about the project and the admittedly difficult situation we all find ourselves in. The El Dorito team is understandably upset at this outcome given the time they've each invested in this project, but they understand the legal implications and the need to press pause on this work. One thing remains clear. The community really wants more Halo on PC. As we look ahead, we're very excited about the prospects of an official classic Halo experience making its way to PC, and we hope to be able to partner with El Dorito team and broader mod and content creation community to help inform the types of experiences and features our fans desires. While we have nothing to announce today, please know that the PC community is very important to us and top of mind as we work towards the future. Well, that's interesting. Could we actually see a classic Halo game come to PC? Not necessarily Halo 6. I think most of us assume Halo 6 is coming. Keep in mind, though, we see this at times when a company is planning to release something to that platform. Do you remember how, what was it, Nintendo struck down that Metroid 2 fan mod, was AM2R? Remember they struck that down, and then a few months later, Samus Returns gets announced? I have a strong feeling, and I've talked about this at length, I think Master Chief Collection is coming to the PC, And that, of course, has Halo 3 in it. So I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest, that this is happening, and it might even be an E3 announcement, possibly, because the Master Chief Collection is getting a big update this year. That could coincide with a cross-platform release of the Master Chief Collection to break down the console barriers, or the platform barriers, as Microsoft likes to say. And that's pretty much why this project, this Halo 3 project, had to be stopped, because they would be competing with Halo 3 with the Master Chief Collection. That makes no sense, right? So they had to do it. It had to go. I understand to a degree why they had to do this. It's just really sad, and I knew it was going to happen. People on Twitter said I was crazy. Microsoft won't do it. And they did it. So hopefully what comes out of this is a PC version of an older Halo game, or, like I said, just the entire Master Chief Collection. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, guys. Really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave a bunch of comments down below about everything we talked about today. I know people want to talk about loot boxes being made illegal in Belgium. I'm going to be curious what they do about free-to-play games on mobile, because those have gotcha systems in them that are basically loot boxes. Do they start going through and investigating every single one on that app store and banning them? What do they do about other games that continue to come out or that are out now that have loot boxes? Do they start sending tons of letters out to these companies? I don't know, because right now, from what I've seen, they've named 3 games. So we'll see what they do about the other ones, and if they have guidelines for other companies to follow. Also, let me think about that Project Octopath, or Octopath Traveler, sorry, it's not Project anymore. Octopath Traveler box art, I'm very curious. And would you like to see Halo go to the PC? And do you think it is happening soon, and that's why they had to take care of the El Dorito mod team that was going on there? Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.